What's up, everybody? I'm Colby, and welcome to episode 2 of Supercharged for Christ. If you're new here, I'm on a mission to use a passion for cars to create opportunities to share the gospel. Every episode will hit the road, open God's Word, and talk about how we can apply it to our everyday lives. Before we get into the car today, I wanted to share something that I've been reading lately that really challenged me. This book right here, Stand Firm and Act Like Men by Joby. If you have not read this book, I highly recommend grabbing a copy. I just finished it recently, and honestly, it's been one of the most impactful books that I've read in a long time. One of the passages Joby focuses on throughout this book is 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 and 14. After reading it, I knew that's exactly where I want to spend our time today. Because if I'm being honest, everywhere we look today, someone's trying to define what it means to be a man. Culture has a definition, social media has a definition. The world tells us that being a man is about chasing success, making money, gaining status, or just trying to prove yourself to others. It measures a man by his career, his title, his income, what he owns, or how many people know his name. But if we really want to know what it means to be a man, why wouldn't we ask the one who created us? That's exactly what we're going to do today as we look at 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 through 14. But before we jump in the car, I know there's probably some people watching who don't know much about the car behind me. This is my 2000 Supercharged Saleen S281. It has just 38,000 original miles. Ever since I was a kid, Celine's been one of my dream cars. I love the styling, I love the history, and I loved everything the Celine name represented. Steve Saleen founded the company in 1983, and just a year later, the first production Celine Mustang debuted. It was a white 1984 hatchback. That year, only three of those were produced. This car is part of the New Edge generation, which ran from 1999 through 2004. During that entire generation, only 1,010 factory supercharged S281 coupes were produced. For the 2000 model year, only 232 were built. This particular car is production number 889. Based on Celine's original production records, it's actually a one-of-one configuration with these exact color options and features. That's what I love about these cars. Every Celine has its own story, just like every owner has a story. And I believe every story is an opportunity for God to work. That's really what I hope this community becomes, using a passion for cars to create opportunities to share the gospel, a place where we can appreciate incredible cars, hear the stories of the people behind them, grow together in our faith, and ultimately point people to Jesus Christ. All right, let's fire up the Celine, hit the road, and dive into today's Bible study. Let's go. Gotta let her breathe every once in a while. All right, guys, now that we're in the car, let's jump into today's verse. So like I mentioned outside, we're looking at 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13 through 14. It says, "Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong, let all that you do be done in love." I love how direct this verse is. That guy was flying back there. So what Paul is saying, he's saying be watchful, stand firm, act like men, be strong, but then he brings it all together with love. And honestly, that last part is really what stands out to me the most. Because when we talk about being strong, standing firm, or what it means to be a man, it can be easy to think that means being hard, emotionless, being loud, or thinking that you got everything figured out. But that's not what Scripture's calling us to do. Biblical manhood isn't about ego. It's not about proving yourself to the world. And it's definitely not about measuring your worth by your money, your job, what kind of car you drive, or what other people think about you. Biblical manhood is strength under submission to Christ. It's being watchful over your life, paying attention to what's influencing you, what habits are shaping you, and what direction your life is heading. Because the truth is, none of us drift towards God by accident. If anything, We drift into compromise, temptation, distraction. We start living for things that were never meant to become our identity. And that's why Paul says, be watchful. Then he says, stand firm in the faith. And that's the one that really challenged me. Because standing firm sounds easy when life is good. Absolutely. But what about when you're tired? What about when you're surrounded by temptation? What about when following Christ, and this is a big one, following Christ makes you different from the people around you? That's where faith gets real. Standing firm means I'm not going to let the world define who I am. I'm not going to let my past or my mistakes or even my success define who I am. The only person that I'm going to let define who I am is Christ. Then Paul says, act like men, be strong. And I know that phrase can hit people differently today. But I don't believe Paul is calling men to be arrogant, harsh, or controlling. I believe he's calling men to take responsibility, to stop being passive, to lead with courage, to protect what God has entrusted to them. That also means serving the people around them and to be men of integrity when nobody's watching. That's a big one. Because I don't want to be the kind of man that just talks about the faith. I want to be the kind of man who lives it. Not just when it's convenient or just when people are watching, but in the way I work, the way I lead, the way I treat others, and how I respond when life doesn't go my way. Then Paul brings it all together and he says, let all that you do be done in love. That's the part we can't miss, fellas, because strength without love can turn into pride. Let me say that again for the people in the back. Strength without love can turn into pride. Leadership without love can turn into control. And if we speak truth without love, we can end up pushing people away instead of pointing them to Christ. That's a big one. But you got to remember this. When strength is submitted to Christ and shaped by love, that's what makes it different. That's the kind of man God calls us to be. He wants us to be strong, but also humble. He wants us to be bold, but also loving. He wants us to be firm, but also gracious. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm still growing in this, 100%. I definitely don't have all this figured out. That book was a wake-up call to a lot of areas of my life that I need to improve. So sitting with this verse challenged me to look at myself and ask, am I becoming the man God created me to be? Or am I chasing the version of manhood the world celebrates? Because those are not always the same thing. So here's my challenge for you this week. Where is God calling you to stand firm? Maybe it's in your faith, your family, your relationships, or maybe God's simply calling you to step into the responsibility He's already placed in front of you. Whatever it is, don't ignore it. I want you to pray about it, be honest with God about it, and take one step this week toward becoming the man God created you to be. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. What's one area of your life that God's calling you to stand firm? Drop it below, or feel free to DM me and we can talk through it together. 100% down for that. I want us to encourage each other, build this community, and keep pointing each other back to Christ. Thank you guys for riding along with me for episode 2 of Supercharged for Christ. I hope today's verse encouraged you, challenged you, or at least gave you something to think about this week. If you have a car you'd like to feature on a future episode, I'd love to hear from you. Whether it's a Mustang, a Corvette, a truck, or your grandmother's station wagon, whatever it is, I want to hear the story behind the car and the person behind the wheel. And if there's something you're walking through or an area where you feel stuck and just need some biblical direction, shoot me a DM. I would love to talk through and help you any way I can. I want this to become a community where men can talk honestly, because when men stop talking and start carrying everything alone, that's a problem. So this is an open platform where we can talk cars, talk faith, encourage each other, and keep pointing people back to Christ. Also, we just launched superchargedforchrist.com. That's going to be the home base for everything we're building. The videos, the merch, any future updates, all that good stuff. So go check that out. And also drop a comment, send me a message, and let's connect. As always, keep your eyes on Christ, keep chasing purpose, and remember, life is better when it's supercharged by faith. I'm Colby, and this is Supercharged for Christ. God bless, and I'll see you in the next episode.